Hello! How are you guys doing for this evening's version of Coffee Talk? Where I am here with Lou.
Hello, everybody.
And Mitch The Ripper, who happens to be caffeinating himself at the moment.
Haberdacus.
Caffeination.
And we're saying a good evening to Thoraxy Baby, Green Badger Outdoors, Malachite, and Straight Sith male so far.
Domo.
Yeah. Seeing how...
Suavu.
Yep. Seeing how Puerto Rico has been in the news as of late with the recent blackout and then the problems with Maria and other things, we decided that we were going to go deeper into the problem that is Puerto Rico, much ado about Puerto Rico, that is, and discuss its financial problems and what got it to be financially, well, fucked, really. There's no other way to explain it.
Can we blame EA Games?
No, I don't think we can blame EA Games.
I want to so bad.
I know you do. Okay, we're going to start out with an article, and yes, I put the article into Evernote to, remove all the fluff and ads and shit, because I figured that was a good idea. So we did that, and now I got to make sure it fits into Windows, because I'm a dork.
All the fluff and shrubbery.
Right. This was updated May 31st, 2017, and this is off of Investopedia.com. The origins of the Puerto Rican debt crisis. And yeah, you will hear me go into Puerto Rican because I can't help it. If it's Spanish, I gotta pronounce it in Spanish. That's just the way I am.
Oh, I'm waiting for you to get to Luis Gutierrez.
Governor Ricardo Rosselló moved the crisis, to form a to the form of a bankruptcy court in early May. This was after many attempts to reduce its debt burden. Puerto Rico has had a 2-year-long problem with debt. And we're getting into that with this particular thing. It said, with over $70 billion in bond obligations and $49 billion in unfunded pensions, this is the largest government to seek bankruptcy in U.S. history. In March, the governor proposed a new deal to restructure debt of the premier utility company Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, or PREPA, which constitutes $9 billion, or nearly 13% of the total bond debt outstanding. While Rosselló's plan was backed by the Federal Oversight Board, which was appointed last year by then-President Obama, to navigate Puerto Rico out of this debt trap, it was opposed by creditors. Oh, you're giggling.
You don't let a person like Obama in on your debt problems.
You're gonna
get bad advice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that was well, it probably wasn't their first mistake, but it's certainly not one of their, what's the word I'm looking for? Least impactful.
Probably.
I guess.
Probably.
Probably not their least impactful mistake.
Probably not. In smaller print, it says the island territory had until May 1st to negotiate a deal with its creditors, at which point a stay granted by courts would expire and allow creditors to sue. On May 2nd, several creditors filed suit. So here we have creditors going, we want our money. To put this in perspective, the money Puerto Rico owes represents nearly 70% of the territory's gross domestic product. For comparison, the average debt to GDP ratio for states in the United States is only 17%.
Yikes.
Yeah. The territory's escalating debt combined with its weakened economy caused 3 major credit rating agencies in 2014 to downgrade Puerto Rico's debt to non-investment grade, also known as junk status. The downgrade triggered acceleration clauses with many of the territory's creditors. When this happens, principal and interest payments on debt come due much sooner. Unfortunately for Puerto Rico, its revenues are insufficient to pay its debt according to the original schedule, much less an accelerated schedule. I hate to say this, but we are here to learn. I never understood exactly how GDP worked.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, to be honest. I mean, it's not like you can measure it ahead of time.
No, it's not.
Because, you can predict a little bit based on patterns, but overall, that prediction is never going to be accurate. Unless it's one of those one of those things where you're across the basketball court and you bounce the ball and it goes into the basket and you never do it again. That's the kind of situation where you're going to get an accurate prediction on a GDP.
Yeah, probably. Let me see if I can look up what exactly it is. Let me see. Domestic. Oh, it helps if I spell it right when I Google it, right?
That's the theory.
That's the theory. All right, let's see here. Well, what do you know? Investopedia again. And since they're an investment website. All right, here we go. Investopedia defines GDP. Gross domestic product is the monetary value of all finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. Though GDP is usually calculated on an annual basis, it can be calculated on a quarterly basis as well. In the United States, for example, the government releases an annualized GDP estimate for each quarter and also for an entire year. It includes all private and public consumption, government outlays, investments, private inventories, paid-in construction costs, and the foreign balance of trade. Exports are added, imports are subtracted. But simply put, GDP is a broad measurement of a nation's overall economic activity. Okay. I think that cleared it up. I understood.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's... I just never knew how it was measured, but I knew it was basically a measure of the province, country, states, whatever.
Yeah.
Monetary output. Let's say that.
Yeah. So basically, they're predicting stuff based on how things are going, and then they're going, okay, this is going to be this, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's used to be predictive.
Yep. All right, so now I'm going to do this, because I forgot to do this during the music playing because I'm a dummy. All right, let me see here. Move it over. Putting the description in the description. That's convenient. Okay, here we go. The description is now in the description. All the links to the sources are below. So, okay, origins. Here we go. Investors in Puerto Rican municipal bonds have received favorable tax treatment for years. Favorable tax treatment. Bond investors from all 50 states have taken advantage of this benefit by purchasing Puerto Rican bonds. Puerto Rico issued too much bond debt and began relying on borrowed funds from bond issuance to balance its budget.
Hey, it's almost like it's a microcosm of what the Federal Reserve does.
Almost, yeah. All right, cool, Thrax. So the tiny island is ill-equipped for manufacturing and production of goods. Its economy was sustained for decades by the presence of technology and the service-oriented companies that located to the island due to its favorable tax treatment. The U.S. tax code called for these advantages to expire over time. The U.S. tax code when that began to happen, companies fled the island, eviscerating its economy. Well, yeah, why are you going to stay if you're not, going to get that all-needed special treatment?
Is that suggesting that there was some... Does that suggest that there was some sort of collusion?
I don't know. Sounds like it. Spending on social programs is disproportionately high in Puerto Rico. The majority of the island's residents receive Medicare or Medicaid. A high poverty rate in Puerto Rico invariably means a lot of its inhabitants seek welfare and other government benefits. In other words, it's a welfare state.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico has been shedding residents since 2005. The island's population is also aging, which means more people on Social Security.
Yep.
Yep.
Fun stuff.
We're beginning to see the why. The Jones-Shafroth Act of 1917 granted U.S. citizenship to residents in Puerto Rico. It also spelled out a number of stipulations defining the territory's relationship with the U.S. mainland. One of these stipulations involved Puerto Rican municipal bonds and the ways in which they could be treated differently than bonds issued by states. So, this isn't a recent thing. It's been happening for...
a century.
Yeah. Let me see here. Interest income on most municipal bonds is subject to taxes by various levels of government, including federal, state, and local. Jones-Shafroth exempted Puerto Rican municipal bonds from all three levels of taxation, As a result, residents of all 50 states and other U.S. territories can invest in Puerto Rican bonds without paying interest on the income.
So what does that mean?
It means it's a bad idea to let government have too much control over the economy.
Yeah. It means interest is something like when you take out a mortgage, you're not just taking it out for the price of the home, you're also taking it out plus interest. That interest is the profit the mortgage company makes.
Interest is a bitch.
Yeah. Yes, interest is a bitch. However, the territory's government started using bond investment money to balance its budget despite it being borrowed funds and not actual revenue.
Oh, dear Lord. So basically they were taking money from where it shouldn't be taken.
It's almost like governments need to have some sort of a parent that doesn't let them into the safe.
It's beginning to sound that way.
It really is. Like, dear Lord, like,
Yeah.
that's the problem with it, is like they're so power driven or power hungry or something.
Well, no, they're irresponsible.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess that's what the word I was looking for was irresponsible. They're not capable of doing it.
I mean, if we spent money, it'd be like us living solely on credit cards and not being able to pay those credit cards back.
Right.
Inevitably it would catch up to us.
Right. Basically, it's living on credit cards when you have no income.
Unlike most states in the U.S., Puerto Rico has never in its history sustained a strong economy on the back of manufacturing or producing goods. The territory's remote island location, tiny land area, and lack of natural resources precluded it from ever developing a strong manufacturing base. These tax advantages, however, were not permanent. In other words, we're going back to the tax advantages. As they expired over time, many companies elected to discontinue their Puerto Rican presence. Reduced corporate presence led to GDP declines, worsening the island's debt-to-GDP ratio and hastening its credit downgrade.
So it's not collusion, it's just a good business.
Yeah.
It's a good business decision. If you can't use the place as a tax shelter, get out.
Yeah. In the smaller print, they're equating it to what happened with the big three when they went into a slump. The big three auto manufacturers in Detroit.
Right.
Okay. Oppressive social spending. More than 60% of Puerto Ricans receive Medicare or Medicaid. As a result, the territory must heavily earmark its own budget to provide money for these programs, along with welfare and other safety net incentives to help the needy. Over the past few decades, declining tax revenues and mounting debt in other areas have forced Puerto Rico to borrow money to keep its Medicaid program solvent. Wow.
I'm approaching I'm not going to make the suggestion yet, but I am approaching a suggestion.
Okay.
For Puerto Rico,
Okay.
But not yet, because there's I suspect there's more that I need to know first.
Probably.
So let's continue.
In the smaller print, another serious problem stems from Puerto Rico's underdefined social safety net. Because of so many of the territory's residents receive government assistance to pay for health care, providers struggle perpetually, and their workers are underpaid compared to their peers on the mainland. As a result, many of Puerto Rico's most skilled health care workers have jumped ship in favor of more lucrative jobs in other parts of the U.S. And
Unshocked.
Yeah.
Again, good economic. So the people of Puerto Rico, from what we can gather here so far, it looks like the people of Puerto Rico are exercising good economic sense, while the Puerto Rican government and the U.S. government, because there's a relationship there, are collectively not exercising good economic sense.
Doesn't seem that way. It does not seem that way. And my chat's not working. God damn mother freaking hello. Hang on.
Mudda puss bucket.
I know. I hate it when stuff doesn't work. It's annoying.
Can't even see Zeus.
Yeah, no, where is he? He's over there on the foot of the bed. Is the camera not working again? No, the camera's on. Oh, it's not on. Okay, let me fix that problem.
Great.
Hey, it's not a stream without bloopers. There we go. There's Zeus.
It really isn't.
He should be popping on in any moment now.
Groovy.
Alright. Even though he's chilling like a villain.
Oh, no.
All right. Let me see here. Puerto Rico's population peaked in 2005 at 3.91 million. A 2012 U.S. Census estimate reports that during the intervening 7 years, the island lost over 150,000 residents. A 2015 Pew Research study, you can take that with a little bit of salt. Pew Research is here and there, hit or miss. Estimated that between 2011 to 2013 and 2013, Puerto Rico's net population decreased by 50,000 people annually. So that's 3 times 50, that's 150 more residents. So a total of 300 and, yep, it's working now. A total of 300,000 residents left the island, said, fuck this. We're going to the actual land of opportunity. Though this is a bankruptcy case in a practical sense, it won't be officially called that since Puerto Rico is barred from using Chapter 9, the usual bankruptcy chapter. Instead, it will petition for relief under the Puerto Rico Oversight, Management, and Economic Stability Act, PROMESA, promise in Spanish, a new federal law for insolvent territorial governments, according to the New York Times. So instead of making it file for bankruptcy, you're sticking it under an Oversight Management Act.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not the best thing for a country to file bankruptcy, but I don't see any other choice in this matter with these guys.
Okay, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
That suggestion I had to solve this problem.
Okay.
And I think the people of Puerto Rico have it figured out. Leave.
Yeah.
Get out. And my suggestion is not simply leave, but maybe the U.S. government should do something to, these people do have American citizenship. Mm-hmm. Let's bring them in.
Yeah.
Let's just bring them into the mainland, let the island, or turn the island into a military base. There we go.
Or turn it into a resort of some kind. I don't know. How is it up there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's in the Caribbean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that, yeah, fucking pull the people off, say, hey, you're just going to be Americans now, come live on the mainland.
Yeah.
But we're turning the island into fucking Fantasy Island. We're going to fly Mr. Rourke out, and we're going to station him there.
Yep.
And the other half of the island, because we should do 2 things, is going to be a naval base.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's going under.
Yeah.
It really is.
Hey,
or, maybe those members of our government are worried that the naval base half will be too heavy and the island will capsize.
Stray Sith Mail said, to be fair, it did start as a military base.
There we go.
Good evening, G. Bronert and Fuckwad. How you guys doing this evening? Puerto Rico to sell off crippled power utility Prepa. Puerto Rico's governor said on Monday he intends to sell off the U.S., and this is dated, to give you guys a time reference, January 22nd, 2018, and that is a Monday, or that was a Monday. That was a Monday. Puerto Rico's governor said on Monday he intends to sell off the U.S. territory's troubled power utility to the private sector, saying the process could take roughly 18 months to complete. Who the hell would want to buy a failing power company? Evening, Jacob.
No idea.
What?
Did G. Bronner just call me Ronan? I mean, we both got deep voices, but my God.
It's Mitch, not Ronan.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
See what happens when I don't have coffee?
Yeah, I see what happens. You sound like Ronan. The Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, PREPA, has yet to recover fully from the devastation wrought by Hurricane Maria, which in late September knocked out power to the entire island, leaving all 3.4 million residents in the dark and killing dozens of people.
Which begs the question, how do you solve a problem like Maria?
I was waiting for that reference.
Had to be done.
Yes, it had to be done. G. Bronard. Yeah, I'm okay. Oh, yeah, well, children do have moods where they don't want to behave. Fuck what? Fuck communism. It should have been private from the start. Yeah. The Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority has become a heavy burden on our people who are now hostage to its poor service and high cost, Governor Ricardo Rosselló said in a statement. What we know today is the Puerto Rico Electric Power Company does not work and cannot continue to operate like this. So why were you letting it operate like that?
Yeah, why wait so long to go? You know, this looks bad.
Right? Less than 64% of homes and businesses are receiving power, according to the latest data from the U.S. Department of Energy. But new plans call for 30% of power generation to be from renewable sources, probably solar and other shit like that. Rosselló described how the process for breaking up the company would occur in 3 phases. Phase 1 consists of defining the legal framework via legislation. Phase 2 will be evaluating bids, and Phase 3 will be the terms of awarding and hiring the selected companies that meet the requirements for the transformation and modernization of our energy system will be negotiated. Right? Given PREPA is currently trying to work its way through bankruptcy, so it's going through bankruptcy too, and all of the island's financial dealings must go through the federally appointed Financial Oversight and Management Board for Puerto Rico, selling off PREPA's assets could be a long process.
I hate to be that guy, but let it fail.
Yeah. The island's electrical...
Go on.
Cause why?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, what kind of sense does it make to add money to the debt by performing a bailout?
Mm-hmm.
Presidents Bush and Obama. Never mind. But yeah, that's a bad thing to do. These do not bail it out. Let it collapse. Yeah. Because, as we all know, nature abhors a vacuum. Something else will spring up in its place. Yeah. Since it is an American territory, there is some guarantee that it won't be a tyranny that pops up in its place. Some guarantee. Yeah. I'll make that perfectly clear.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. It says, the island's electrical grid is 28 years older than the average electric power utility in the United States. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute.
Where is that? It's 28. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no Puerto Rican word for maintenance, I suppose?
Apparently not. Let me see. PREPA has been hampered by years of underinvestment, frequent turnover in management, and inefficient collections that forced it to go deeply into debt. The utility incurred about $9 billion in debt before declaring bankruptcy in July.
Jesus.
Yeah. Because, bankruptcy. Let me see here. Last September, after Hurricane Maria, PREPA rejected a $1 billion loan and a discount on a portion of the existing debt offered by its creditors. The utility was criticized for its restoration efforts, particularly its now canceled $300 million contract with a tiny Montana-based Whitefish Energy Holdings Limited Liability Corporation, which was obtained without competitive public bidding. And that was in the news. It was all over the news.
I gotta wonder.
Yep. One analyst what were you wondering about?
Well, why do you reject a $1 billion... I can't read it now. I should click the link. Why do you reject $1 billion like that? There must have been
There must have been a reason for it?
Yeah, there must have been something in the deal that was remarkably bad.
It does beg the question. I mean, that would have helped him with some of their debt, but not all of it.
Well, yeah, I agree with fuckwad too. By the way.
Yeah, Lopez. He needs Lopez running things.
Yeah, Lopez.
Oh, the Lopez.
One analyst.
Lopez.
Yep, one analyst.
How do you feel about running PREPA?
Fuck you.
Yeah, he's not interested.
Yeah, he's not interested. One analyst was skeptical of Rosselló's plan. He's got no energy plan, no financial analysis. If he thinks he's going to sell it off and the private sector is going to come in and invest, that is the recipe for Puerto Rico being raked over the coals by private interests, said Tom Sancillo, Director of Finance for the Cleveland, Ohio-based Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis.
Yep, always a downside.
Mm-hmm. Sancillo is also quoted as saying this will produce a maximum amount of corruption and a minimal amount of electricity. So, there is that.
Yeah, it's... Is it too far gone
I think
to
so.
try to fix? Is that because that's really the question at this point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And this is the FEMA map back from 2017 after the hurricane hit. Most, if not all, the island had lost power, among other things. So now, on top of their mounting debt, on top of all this other problems, on top of, you know, this power company, you know, filing for bankruptcy, you have, you know, they had a blackout Sunday night because one of the substations blew. Gee, Bronner, you should read it as a pissed off Cuban. You know, it's horrible to see, but I mean, when you don't manage your shit the way you should, this happens, unfortunately. Yep. Okay, we're looking at the main page for the progress in Puerto Rico. This is off FEMA.gov. Deadline to apply for assistance has been extended to March 20th, 2018. The deadline for the Virgin Islands was the 8th of January. So that has passed for the Virgin Islands. Okay, signs of recovery. This is progress in Puerto Rico. Cell service was at 61%, is now at 96%. Potable water was down to 69%, is now up to 90.63%. Patients cared for went from 6,100 to 35,777. And then in 90 days, they're projecting, after 90 days, it was over 38,000 people. So open ATMs, after 30 days was 1,000. After 60 days was 1,300. After 90 days was 1,586. 30 days after Maria, there were only 148 generators on the island. 60 days, there were 645. And after 90 days, there were 933 generators on the island. Now, far be it for me to raise my hand and say something doesn't smell right. But if recovery is supposed to be going as planned, shouldn't the number of generators be going down?
One would think.
One would think.
Well,
Yeah.
first order of business is survival, so maybe not.
True. There is that point. Gas stations, 30 days after Maria, 78% were functioning. 85% were functioning after 60 days. And after 90 days, 84.3%. They lost about 0.7% there along the way.
That's interesting. Probably to fuel all the generators.
Probably. Power, 30 days after Maria, 21% of the island. 60 days, 49% of the island had it. 90 days, 65.4% of the island had it. Ugh. I mean, it's when you see it there, it looks like good progress, but after 90 days,
It's barely over half.
yeah, it's barely over half. I mean, you also have to factor in the problem they had with that $300 million deal that tanked up, and it turned out that there were only, 3 people running that LLC?
Oh, great.
And they were subcontracting the work out, and the subcontractors weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. It's like they were taking the money and running.
Did Puerto Rico contribute to the Clinton campaign?
I don't know.
Because, just curious.
Yep. Installation of blue roof. After 30 days, 439. After 60, 11,196. And after 90 days, 23,455. Now, keep in mind, there are still over 400,000 people without power on this island, and a lot of people still displaced.
I have a question. What the hell is blue roof?
I'm about to find out.
Oh, groovy.
Okay. Alright, let's see here. There we go. Army Corps of Engineers, Operation Blue Roof. In disaster areas, Operation Blue Roof is a program for homeowners who have damage to their roofs. The program sends licensed contractors out to homes to cover the damage with fiber reinforced plastic sheeting, tarp, until homeowners can arrange repairs. Operation,
okay.
Yep. The operation allows residents to stay in their homes instead of paying for temporary housing or hotels. So basically, Operation Blue Roof, or these blue roofs, are for houses that aren't completely destroyed.
Right. It's Operation Rent-A-Tarp.
Right. That's what it sounds like. Okay, let me see if I can find... I know I can find the story for Whitefish and elaborate a little more on that, because that was a fucking mess and a half.
Oh, I bet.
Let's see here. Bloomberg. Here we go. Out of Bloomberg, November 23rd, 2017. Whitefish resumes restoring power to Puerto Rico after payment. After payment! Yeah, that's one headline. Let me see if I can dig a little bit deeper and find something that isn't... Let me see. It says they've worked with them since fiscal year 2007. They've worked with the... let me see, government contractors. Whitefish Energy Holdings LLC. Let me see here. Last fiscal year was 2016. Number of contracts since fiscal year 2007, 1.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's... Why wouldn't you look into these people?
Hey, it worked for Solyndra.
It worked for Solyndra. Let me see here. It says, Puerto Rico, this is out of Washington Post. Puerto Rico's electric company moved Sunday to cancel a 300... Okay, this is dated... Give me a date. God damn it. October 29th, 2017. Puerto Rico's electric company moved Sunday to cancel a $300 million contract with a small Montana firm for repairs to the territory's hurricane-ravaged electrical grid, saying controversy surrounding the agreement was distracting from the efforts to restore power. The contract with Whitefish Energy, a firm that had just 2 employees the day the storm hit, had drawn blistering criticism from the members of Congress for days. And on Friday, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which has a large role in determining government reimbursements, said it had significant concerns about how the contract was secured. 39 days after Hurricane Maria hit the territory, Governor Ricardo Rosselló said he is requesting assistance from Florida and New York under mutual aid agreements that utilities traditionally activate during emergencies. The territory had not previously done so and had not responded to offers of assistance. About 80% of people on the Commonwealth's main island still have no electricity. Remember, this is October 2017. This is not a current report. As a result of the information that has been revealed and the need to protect the public interest, I, as governor, am seeking the power authority to cancel the Whitefish contract immediately, Rosselló said at a news conference in La Fortaleza, the governor's mansion. He did not cite specific information beyond what has been reported in media coverage. Whitefish Chief Executive Andrew Techmansky has extensive experience in the electric transmission business, but Whitefish has received only small contracts, records show. Whitefish's contract in Puerto Rico, the largest yet issued in the troubled relief effort, was not competitively bid. Whitefish said it has experience in mountainous terrain and that its business model calls for scaling up quickly. In a statement, Whitefish said it was very disappointed and that the utilities' decision will only delay what the people of Puerto Rico want and deserve, to have power restored quickly. It said that it would finish any work that PREPA, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, wants us to complete and stand by our commitments. In other words, they price gouge the fuck out of people.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
After a hurricane.
If you do that in the States, you get fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, and it's not a state, so I'm assuming they think they can get away with it as well.
Well, we've already established that there are different financial and tax-related rules in play.
Yep.
And that being the case, there's going to be different levels of interest in protecting the rights of those citizens. by our government.
Yeah, there's going to be people that exploit it.
Yep.
In short, Puerto Rico not being a territory and not a state, and having different tax plans and whatnot, it's a good way to prevent people from being treated equally under law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In simpler language, it's tyrannical horse shit.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
But I do have a different idea now.
For it.
Okay. What is
Getting a bigger look at the region where Puerto Rico is located.
Mm-hmm.
I say let's move all the Puerto Ricans to America and turn Puerto Rico into a fucking wind farm.
Huh.
Good
Well, I mean,
luck.
with all the hurricanes and all the other shit going on, you could use wind, solar, and
Yeah, I was about to say
the generators that are powered by the tide.
Mm-hmm. The hydroelectric generators.
Yeah, you could do all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they could, if they were smart, they could have sustained themselves on energy alone.
Yeah.
But they wasn't smart. No name. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States. They are not a state, which brings us to the last article out of the NPR. June 11th, 2017. Puerto Rico overwhelmingly votes on U.S. statehood in non-binding referendum. In other words, bullshit vote. I mean, what else do you call that? If it's a non-binding referendum, Puerto Ricans overwhelmingly voted for U.S. statehood for their island in a non-binding referendum on Sunday. This is back in June 11th, 2017. Yeah, June of 2017. Keep that in mind. This is last year. More than 480,000 votes were cast for statehood, more than 7,500 for free association / independence, and more than 6,500 for independence, with roughly half of the polling centers reporting. The participation rate was nearly 23%, with roughly 2.26 million registered voters.
That's almost as disgusting as, U.S. voting.
Yeah.
Seriously, what the heck?
That's just about as bad as our turnout, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least it proves that they're U.S. citizens. Dear Lord, we have the worst accountability ever when it comes to voting.
Okay, 0.23. 23%. That means out of 2.26 million registered voters, a whopping 519,800 people voted.
Damn.
That's sad.
It is.
Yes, it is.
That's just fucking... Okay, this is, this is a major issue down there. To become a state or to vote to become independent from the United States. And you're not going to show up to vote on this?
Well, it's like I said in the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like to grow up there. I don't know what their education system's like. I don't know what their culture is like very much, and I don't know where they what values they teach.
Yeah.
Do they value the vote like Americans supposedly do?
Yes, I like how you put in the supposedly.
Well, yeah, it's clear that Americans don't, because look at some of the people who have gotten into various offices.
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer. Anyway, look at the people who continue to get into various offices. Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, or really does Hillary?
That's
Clinton
another one. Actually, not specifically Hillary Clinton for once, but I have trouble with a family being a political entity, like the Kennedys, the Obamas,
Yeah.
the Clintons, the Bushes. I take issue with this stuff. That's not how our system's supposed to work. We're not a monarchy.
Yeah. I agree. Let me see.
But that's another issue. But with Puerto Rico, let's give them a choice: come to the States proper, or stay in your country.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's going to lead to it'll be an expense.
Mm-hmm.
But but they are a territory of the United States. That means, in my head anyway, that the United States has some degree of responsibility when it comes to the well-being of Puerto Ricans. Mm-hmm. I said, give them the option. If you want to come back to the States, come on in. You're already American citizens. It's no problem. If you want to stay in Puerto Rico, that's fine too. But you're not going to have as much of a chance to do well in life if you do stay.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it.
Here's the kick in the pants. The question at the heart of the non-binding referendum has been asked of Puerto Rican voters before. 4 times before, in fact. In the most recent vote, which was held in 2012, the island opted for statehood, though many people argued answers on the 2-question ballot proved inconclusive. I want to see the ballot.
Yeah, I noticed they didn't show the ballot there.
Yeah, they didn't show the ballot. The recession-racked island finds itself mired in upwards of $120 billion in debt, including public sector bills and money owed to pension funds. And its struggle with creditors landed in court last month. Puerto Rico's attempt to restructure its debt, a bankruptcy-like proceeding, tailor-made for its status as a territory, vastly outpaces similar municipal bankruptcies like Detroit's $18.5 billion Chapter 9 filing in 2013.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
hey, numbskull.
I know Detroit, but my lord, I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you compare it against other stuff, it's like, holy shit. I'm trying to find the education rankings, and they're just not giving me a straight number. Like, what are they in the world, or what are they in terms... let me see if I can get this right here.
If it was a 2-question ballot, why wouldn't they print what the questions were?
I don't know.
This bothers me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's not a state secret. It having been on a ballot after all.
Yeah, I'm sure it isn't. Let me see.
See, this is lazy reporting.
Yep.
That bothers me.
According to Wikipedia, quote unquote, take this with a grain of salt, according to the Economist Intelligence Unit, 95% of public schools in Puerto Rico graduate at a sub-basic level, while 60% do not even graduate.
There we go.
Furthermore, according to the Department of Education of Puerto Rico, 39% of school students perform at basic level, average performance, in Spanish in the Puerto Rican Test of Academic Achievement. That's their native language, people. Likewise, 36% perform at a basic level in mathematics, while 35% perform at a basic level in English, and 43% at a basic level in science in said tests. Yeah, so their education system is even lacking.
So what did they test Common Core there?
I don't know if they did or
before
not.
They rolled it out in the States? Jesus Christ, that's terrible.
It is. It's horrible. Overall, 4th and 8th grade students in Puerto Rico scored lower on average than public school students in the United States. 12% of students in Puerto Rico scored at or above basic 4th grade in comparison to the United States, where 79% of students scored at or above basic in the same grade. 6% of students in Puerto Rico scored at or above basic in 8th grade in comparison to the United States, where 68% of students in the United States scored at or above basic in the same grade.
Dear Lord, this is depressing to hear.
Yeah, it is. As a result of this, 1,321 out of 1,466 public schools in Puerto Rico, about 90%, do not comply with the academic progress requirements established by the No Child Left Behind Act.
There we go. That's goddamn. That's infuriating.
It is. Those are generations of children that are undereducated.
Yeah. How are you going to get uneducated people to rise to the top? You're not.
No.
Do you know what that is? That's generations of people who are going to rely on buying lottery tickets.
Or wind up like they are now, most of them on government assistance programs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's a test bed for the DNC to put forth its policies.
Ugh. Horrid to think about, but not surprising, really. Rival parties on the island, the Popular Democratic Party and the Puerto Rican Independence Party, support a kind of continued territory status or independence, respectively. Reuters reports that calls for boycotting the referendum have some onlookers concerned about anemic turnout at the ballot box on Sunday. Probably why they didn't show up. The BBC posits this reluctance might arise from two reasons. A GOP-led Congress would be wary of admitting a Democratic-leaning electorate like Puerto Rico's, and the debt-troubled island would likely require more federal spending to get back on its feet. I agree with the federal spending, but we've already proven it's probably based in its lack of quality education.
Yes. Sounds to me like a large body of people that's pretty easy to control.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lambs.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
It's sad. It's sad to discover this stuff because, I mean, don't get me wrong, live chat. We just found these. I just found the Wikipedia and all this other stuff that I was researching. We just found this now on live streams because we got curious. Because there always has to be a reason for this sort of systemic problem. And I mean systemic problem meaning an entire island's government being in $120 billion in debt.
Does that mean that Bill Gates could buy the island?
You know, they probably could. He probably could.
Because that's Puerto Rico is also a business opportunity.
Yeah.
Because it's in such dire straits.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of thing where the land value is really low. Go in, buy it up, make it something successful, and then let it flourish.
Yep.
But that's not going to happen because if a government goes in and does that, it's going to come with all these fucking loopholes. It's going to involve a bunch of tax shelters for elected officials and all that kind of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to create another situation where you're going to have a whole host of bills that you have to pass to know what's in them, that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, there was one more thing that apparently didn't show up. Let me see if I can find it so I can open it up and read it. Those of you that pay attention to the media, it didn't save in the right spot, which is why I can't find it. Oh, son of a bitch. Let me see. Here it is. Let me open this up. This is going to be the final note. Those of you that follow the mainstream media and only believe it with a grain of salt, meaning you're highly skeptical and go look up information of your own, you may have seen somewhere in January the mass media say that FEMA was going to end any relief efforts for commodities in Puerto Rico. Well, I not only did a blog post debunking it, but this is from the FEMA website itself, and I am going to make this in bigger print so everybody can see this a lot better. So you guys know what's going on. FEMA statement on commodities in Puerto Rico. Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. FEMA and the government of Puerto Rico are not stopping the provision of commodities in Puerto Rico. FEMA and the government of Puerto Rico will continue to provide commodities to voluntary organizations and local officials who have a need for resources in their communities. There was never and is not now a decision to stop distributing commodities on the island. As progress continues from response to recovery across Puerto Rico, we will continue to support the needs of survivors. There are sufficient commodities on the island to support these needs as they are identified. These commodities are stored in various warehouses throughout the island. There are more than 3,000 federal employees continuing to support the recovery efforts in Puerto Rico, including 1,500 local hires who are assisting in their own recovery. FEMA and Puerto Rico established 9 regional staging areas following Hurricane Maria for commodity distribution to the island's 78 mayors. To date, more than $1.6 billion in food and more than $361 million in water has been provided to survivors. The situation in Puerto Rico is improved to the extent that most grocery stores are open and accessible, transportation systems are operable, and gas stations are operable, as are banks and ATM machines, as we saw in the table. The commercial supply chain for food and water is reestablished, and private suppliers are sufficiently available that FEMA-provided commodities are no longer needed for emergency operations in all areas of the island, which is probably where they got their quote mine.
Yep.
Probably.
In December, representatives of the Puerto Rico Emergency Management Agency and FEMA engaged mayors to determine the needs of local officials in their efforts to provide sufficient food and water to their communities. A reduced reliance on FEMA for food and water is a key indicator of recovery progress. In other words, the more they stand on their own, the less they're going to need FEMA, to the point where FEMA can leave. FEMA will continue to support any documented needs and will provide supplies to volunteer agencies and other private nonprofit organizations who are working with households in rural, outlying areas to address ongoing disaster-related needs as power and water is gradually restored. FEMA will continue to support the government of Puerto Rico to meet the needs they identify. And once again, I am going to I'm going to repeat that one little line that the mass media missed. There was never, and is not now, a decision to stop distributing commodities on the island. Oh, sorry, MC. You didn't get the notification, huh? Are you in my Discord? Because I usually post it in my Discord promo thingy, and I usually tweet out when it's going to be. So, yeah, I mean, the media was like, oh my god, they're going to stop support, they're going to stop help, they're going to stop aid. They're not stopping shit. They're scaling it back as the island is getting its, feet under itself again. That's completely different from cutting them off completely.
Yep. This island is almost a rectangle. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at a map of it just to,
Yeah, there's the FEMA map again.
Well, not the FEMA map. I just went online to look up a map just to see what kind of things can be done geographically.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking at both ends, if you put installations, like naval installations, for example, and along the northern and southern shores, mm-hmm. You throw up all the stuff to use the tide to generate electricity. Mm-hmm. And with a bunch of wind and solar in the body of the island, shit, man, the place would almost be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Especially if it winds up generating enough power. And that's dependent on weather, it's not a guarantee.
Right.
But there's a good chance it could generate enough power to be self-sustaining. It'd be lovely. Mm-hmm. And I think you could still leave some areas for private development for people who want to continue to live there.
Mm-hmm. Straight mail, to quote Braveheart, this is my island. That's the problem they're having. Some people want to be completely independent. They don't want to be a territory anymore. And some people are like, okay, I can see the benefit of being a state. Let me vote for being a state. And then there are some people who say, well, I want to be a territory, but I kind of want to be a state. Is there any middle ground? No, either you're a state, you're a territory, or you're not a part of the United States at all.
Yeah.
Those are your 3 doors, people.
I mean, let's face it, we hold on to it because, let me get a bigger map here so I can remember how to use the damn internet, because I'm a fucking retard, which is getting stupid, but I really should have had coffee earlier today. That's all I gotta say about it. There we go. I mean, it's to the east of Cuba. It's a little to the southeast of Cuba.
Yeah.
And right in there with Haiti and Jamaica. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's wrapped in. It's at one end of a series of I'm going to say it, shithole countries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And, maybe we shouldn't get all too involved in it. Maybe we should let the free market do its thing.
Yep. Hello, Sir Wolfie. Hey, Chagrin. We should. In this particular case, they can't seem to decide. And I'm sorry. This non-binding referendum, this bullshit.
Yeah.
A vote. You need a vote. Do you want to be a state? Do you want to remain a territory? Do you want to be independent? Those are 3 different things to vote on. I want to see that 2-question ballot.
Yeah, the non-binding referendum is as George Carlin pointed out, the illusion of choice by the exercise of meaningless choices. It's basically paper or plastic.
Yeah, it's a Twitter survey.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's like a Twitter survey, except on paper. We need you to vote on this. Do you think this is a good idea? I mean, first of all, you don't have to politicalize the ballot. 3 choices. Check box 1 for independence. Check box 2 to remain a territory. Check box 3 to become a state. Simple.
Yes, it doesn't need to be complicated.
No, it doesn't.
At least on the ballot.
Mm-hmm. MC, we should give them an ultimatum to vote for statehood or become a nation by a specific date. I agree.
Well, there is a, looking it is in a strategic location.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes me wonder why there's not some sort of a naval base there now. Probably because of some treaties or some shit.
Probably.
I mean, it's got access to the... Wait, I gotta look at my map again, because I'm not happy unless I'm staring at my damn map. It's got access to, apart from the Virgin Islands and...
Mm-hmm.
And, there are little islands and whatnot blocking the path, but it gives good access to the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can pull the map up here. Let me get rid of the FEMA map. Get rid of the news. Breaking news. Here we go. Here's the map of the Caribbean on the screen. There's itty bitty Puerto Rico over here. The Dominican Republic over here. We got Haiti over here. And we got Cuba over here. And yes, I'm pronouncing this shit with a Spanish accent. That's the way I roll.
Because that's your thing.
It's my thing. So yeah, it is in a strategic position. Chagrin says, watch as after each poll more and more dissidents end up banned.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But our own Congress not taking action. Yeah, there are reasons for that, and it's usually political. It's like the article said, the GOP doesn't want to do anything with it because it's in debt, and it's just going to add to our own debt and make the GOP look bad.
Right. Oh, Ace.
According to the GOP.
We have a response from Twitch. Hey, SC Fatum. He says, the free market argument doesn't really work. Friedman himself pointed out that a free market would still need welfare in order to take care of those in need, which in this case is Puerto Rico, at least for the time being.
Good point.
You did state a good point, and welcome to my channel on Twitch.
Yeah, we do have Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, we still have Guantanamo Bay. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of Guantanamo.
Probably not. But getting rid of Puerto Rico, that would actually weaken our position in the region.
It would. If they voted for independence, it would weaken our position in the region, and then there would beg the question of, now that they're an independent nation, how long are they going to last with no sought after resources for import or export? Right,
and without a genuine viable military to back them up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how long before they succumb to piracy and whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
How long till this damn cigarette butt goes out? Jesus Christ.
Total non sequitur.
This thing could be the fucking Olympic flame. Fuck's sake. I'm sending my fucking ashtray to the Olympics. Jesus Christ. There we go.
I mean, right now, they're already trying to file for bankruptcy, and because they're a territory and not a state, they can't do that.
Right.
So they're already running into problem number one about being a territory and not a state. Because if they were a state, they could have filed for bankruptcy. They can't do that because they're not a state. I mean, there are a lot of problems inherent in being just a territory.
What we need here, this is a good example of why we need solutions that do not involve a ridiculous amount of red tape. You know, this is a kind of thing, this is caused in large part by bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Just get rid of the bullshit, get rid of the Department of Redundancy department, and just let the things start to happen.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, when you look at Puerto Rico, you know, some people could argue that Investopedia wasn't a very good source, but when you look at Puerto Rico, a lot of things ring true. They really don't have any resources that we can't find on the mainland.
No kidding.
They don't have any major manufacturing plants. The ones they did have left the island when it started going under. So they
no,
really
Jacob, we don't need a final solution.
No. So I mean, the island is stuck. It's fiscally in debt, and there's really no way out because they don't have something anybody wants.
Except territory.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's about it. That's their value is a strategic position.
Yeah.
Literally, it's just like a land plot. That's all it is at this point. That's at least what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's a plot of land. It's a plot of land for somebody to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got our hands on it, so a couple of things need to happen. The people of Puerto Rico need to come to a decision and stick to it.
Yeah.
The U.S. government needs to come to a decision and stick to it.
Mm-hmm. They need to exhibit stick-to-itiveness.
I prefer the word intrepidity myself, but yeah.
I'd never heard that word, otherwise I probably would have used it. But yeah, I mean, it's just when you look at the free market and you apply it to Puerto Rico, what makes a successful business at its core?
Right, you got to do a business analysis, you got to do a tactical analysis, and somewhere in there you're going to find solutions, viable solutions, and then all you have to do is decide on which viable solution you want to implement, and then just implement it. Get rid of all the bullshit around it.
Yeah, because I mean, right now, if you look at if Puerto Rico was a business at this particular point, they really have nothing. Oh, esse fatum. What about it being a good investment in terms of tourism? Never been there. Couldn't say that it's valid. It does have certain parks. It does have historical landmarks that are very interesting to visit. It has lots of beautiful beaches. I don't see why we couldn't use it as a, investment for tourism.
Well, like I said, turn it into Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
Get fucking Disney behind that and watch what happens. Maybe it could be a new destination for Disney cruises.
Could be. I mean, we have to do something. I mean, tourism can bring in the dollars.
Yes, it can. It can make it the Atlantic version of fucking Hawaii if you worked at it.
Because, I mean, in terms of, if you look at it on the map, it can fit in the Dominican Republic. And 5 of it can fit, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5 of it can fit in Cuba alone.
That's Cuba in English, by the way.
Right? Sorry. I mean, it can't. I mean, with the population on that tiny island, there's no way they could even grow sugarcane to export.
No.
You would have to look at it as a tourist destination.
You're very limited to what you can do with it at this point. There's literally almost nothing you can do with this land.
Well, you also have to have infrastructure in place to defend against those weather scenarios.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, stuff has to be built properly. From what I saw, some pictures, everything's just a bunch of sheet metal leaned up against a partial wood frame.
I mean,
Some pictures. I mean, it's bad.
It is. It's horrible. The construction down there is not great. I mean, you have to make bank on the island to afford a house that will withstand a storm, and then you have the infrastructure problems, the power grid that's failing. I mean, I'm sorry, there's no way you can give that power structure, the infrastructure for their power grid, CPR. It needs to be completely rebuilt, I think.
They could also build a couple of desalination plants and start bottling water.
Yeah, and they could sell the sea salt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there are options. I mean, we're just a bunch of dumb people on the internet. We've come up with a few.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me you need a bureaucratic nightmare to make it work.
That's the thing that I don't get is how has nobody thought of these things before?
Oh, someone has. That was my point. We're just three morons on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
None of us is being paid by a think tank.
No.
But we're at least coming up with ideas.
Yeah, and the problem is, if other people, top tier people, need I say government people, come up with the same ideas, then there's a problem with bureaucracy getting in the way.
Right. At least with a business interest getting behind it, there wouldn't be that level of bureaucracy because a business interest knows that a bureaucracy is just a money pit.
Yeah.
Businesses focus on being streamlined and efficient.
Yep. Governments should do that too, but they don't.
Well, except for YouTube.
Yeah, except for YouTube.
Don't let YouTube invest in Puerto Rico.
YouTube, the exception, not the rule.
Yep, Numbskull has a bit of a counter. The cost versus ability of a desalination system is a bad idea.
Oh, I want to know more. Because I always want to know more.
Yeah. Why would it be a bad idea, Numbskull?
I think he's talking about I think he's essentially suggesting that it's not cost effective.
That it's not viable. No.
Yeah. It's not economically viable.
Yeah. That would make sense. Well,
but there are many ways to desalinize.
Yeah.
That there might be one that works. You could do it right on a beach with a sheet of plastic and a little pot. It takes a long time, but it can be done.
Yeah.
But and that's probably why it's not cost effective to do it, is because it does take some time. You have to evaporate the water from the source and arrange for it to the evaporated water to condense and collect into a separate container.
Yeah. Yeah, the cost is too high, he says.
Yeah.
And then E.C. Fatum, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, because it looks Latin, so I'm, trying my best to pronounce Latin. How do the U.S. banking laws apply to a territory it could become a financial safe haven?
It was a financial safe haven until everyone pulled out and the tax laws changed.
He says most desalination is many times more expensive than transporting the water.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. At the beginning of the stream, EC or Ichi, we discussed that they were a haven at one time. People were buying bonds because the bonds were, I believe, interest-free or something like that.
Yeah.
I have to go back and look. So they were a tax haven at one time, but businesses started pulling out as that began to expire.
Yep.
Removing the financial safe haven from the island.
So really all we have to do with Puerto Rico is figure out its strengths and build on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Tourism so far is one we know is a strength because everybody likes a good beach.
Well, yeah, tourism. What did I call it? Not tactical. God damn it!
Yeah,
it's well positioned for military purposes, and every time there's a military base, there's a a citizen infrastructure that builds up around it.
Yeah.
That helps to supply it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There's several options.
No. I mean, it's just what we need, to help at least come up with ideas is, like you said, we're just some dummies on the internet throwing around ideas and, and brainstorming.
Yeah.
If there was an actual think tank sitting somewhere doing this, they could probably come up with more viable ideas to try and help the island out. But
I think someone has. I honestly think someone has. It's just a question of bureaucrats being too chicken shit to implement.
the 10 tons of red tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because,
That's why I suggest businesses doing something to get involved, because it's going to be a far more efficient operation that way.
Yeah. Because but like you said, businesses streamline things. They're always worried about the bottom line and making a profit.
Yep.
Which is, if you want to keep your business viable, making a profit is what you need to do.
I tell you what, it would be nice to see Disney invest here versus investing in fucking France.
I don't think they even go to that Disney World.
Probably not.
I think they think it's a joke or something.
Everything is a joke. My life is a joke. I'm kidding.
Shit, just imagine, you got right there in Florida, you got Disney World, okay? You put another Disney-themed resort kind of thing happening in Puerto Rico, and you can create a little cruise thing between the two.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
What?
You could have the port of
Pirates in
Disney.
the Caribbean theme kind of resort going on down there, because it is an island.
Yeah, you could have the fucking Tortuga bar right there in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You could get out, you could get off the ship and go get slapped by a bunch of whores.
Yeah, and then I think it was the Batman earlier came up with the idea where if you could convince the cruise line to do this and be on board with it, have the cruise line hire actors in a ship that looks like a pirate ship for when the cruise leaves Puerto Rico, they get quote-unquote boarded by Caribbean pirates.
Now that could be I could see how that could be used by actual pirates.
Yeah, I could see too, but I mean, if they make it absolutely obvious, like they're dressed like the pirates from the movie or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Actual pirates would probably do that just to have an easy way to get on a ship, onto a cruise ship.
Well,
I would say design the cruise ship to look a little more Black Pearl-ish.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Make the cruise ship part of the vacation package.
I'd buy a ticket for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
That would be awesome.
I hate Disney, and I'd probably want to do that just for the fun of it.
Either
It would
the
be
Black
like-
Pearl
I hate
or...
Disney for an entirely different reason, because they've just gone so down the toilet that I think even Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network invest them at this point, and those things are completely saturated with all the weird crap.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you remember when Las Vegas had the Star Trek experience?
Yeah.
It would be like that, but pirates on a ship.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd buy a ticket to that. That'd be neat.
It'd be a fun thing for someone to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it would be a weird kind of LARPing.
Oh. E.G.
And
Fatum,
people-
according to Magic Seaweed Surf Tourism, it could be a viable option. Might want to do something similar to the Canary Island in order to attract old people too. Their tourism option solved.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's in which chat?
That's in the Twitch chat.
Ah.
Yes.
And
Which-
if you wait a couple of seconds, it should be popping up in the chat on the...
I see it. It's on the live stream already.
It's on the live stream already.
Which chat? Twitch chat.
Mm-hmm. Which? Twitch. Or you can see it on YouTube, because I got the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat in the same chat. Because it's cool like that.
But yeah, here we are, three assholes.
Yeah. Bouncing around
Nothing-
ideas.
Nothing going for us except for YouTube, and that's a shame. But and Twitch apparently. But there's some ideas right there. Disney could make up their own fucking cruise line. They have the money to do it. Just wait for the next Avengers movie to show a profit, and then build a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And a resort at Puerto Rico and just shit, man. How long is that? How long? That would be like a week-long trip, wouldn't it? From
Yeah.
a week-long vacation, I should say, from Florida to Puerto Rico and then back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a lovely little vacation. Just Disney, be smart about this. Put some armed security on that ship. Don't go with the PC thing. Have some actual armed security just to make sure. And let them do their fucking job.
Yep. Disney has a cruise line. They just need to add it.
Add to it.
Yeah.
To add to it. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it is.
It would be brilliant.
It would. I mean, it's in the Caribbean.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you could throw a bunch of Little Mermaid shit into it too.
Yeah.
You know, there's fucking Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
You could throw all kinds of shit into this vacation package.
Yeah. Yeah.
For fuck's sake, Disney, wake up.
Right? Instead of making it an attraction in your theme park, actually put it somewhere that would like infuse people with some money.
Yes.
Yep. We discussed how they got into the debt problem at the beginning of the stream, Hellbound.
And now I gotta pee or I'm gonna die. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. This is how we end this.
This is what you call semi-casual. When he comes back, we'll probably... Yeah, I mean, bouncing around ideas. I mean, tourism, it's an island. People like visiting islands. Just make it a little more attractive. I mean, God, after you clean it up first, because nobody's going to want to visit it now. But, I mean, at least, you know, they're doing something to repair the island and get people back on their feet. And I wouldn't be surprised that if the FEMA relocated families that are in New England, can't remember the state exactly, decided they were going to stay there and found jobs and shit. I mean, that's part of Puerto Rico's problem. When you're not giving enough of an incentive for your people to stay, and they have better opportunities on the mainland, why are they going to stay? What reason do they have to stay? Mitch's fuckwad. Mitch's eyes were turning yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Trump should just buy Puerto Rico. He seems to like to buy a lot of property. A lot of property. Let's see here. Well, might as well. I think we ran out of stuff because I know I ran out of material. He's in the bathroom, but I'm going to go ahead and do this anyway. Coffee Talk is a Monday and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show where we either delve deeper into a topic at the time, take a deeper look into a news article that doesn't smell quite right, do some geeky things, or as we're going to be doing in the future, taking a look at voting histories of the more prominent incumbents in Congress to shed light on some information in perhaps aiding you in making an informed voting decision. I have been here with Mitch the Ripper and Lou.
Hello and goodbye.
All the links are down below for my guests. And as always, whether coffee and tea, thank you for being here with me, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Catch us on the next Coffee Talk. Ciao!
Bye.
Ciao diggity.